Greetings, this is M squared, and we are going to solve some linear equations today with the variables on one side, and we are going to do it using our chart. So let's remember, this is on page 9 of your notes. We are going to ask ourselves these questions and move from one place to the other. So our first question is, does it contain fractions? If it does, we multiply both sides by the common denominator. Does it contain parentheses? If you say yes, then we use distributive property. And combining like terms, getting the variable alone, getting the constant alone. We won't have to do this step because we're only having a variable on one side, so this step will already be done for us today. Next time it will be different. Okay, so have this out so that you can refer to it. So in class, we're going to kind of go over these, so I'm going to skip those. This is just solving them in your head. It's nice to kind of have an estimate. You know, like for example, when I look at this problem right here, 5 times x minus 3 equals 50, in my mind I think, 5 times 10 is 50. So that means x minus 3 must have to equal 10. Well, what minus 3 equals 10? Oh, 13. So the answer is 13. So being able to do it in your head is just a nice way to confirm what the answer is, because we want to make sure that we're thinking about it while we're doing it and not just going through the steps and not knowing if we're wrong or not. So here is a problem, and we are going to work on this one. So when you look at it, the first question says, does it have fractions? This one does. It has a denominator of 4. It only has one fraction. So the first thing I want to do is to get rid of the fractions. I'm going to multiply everything on both sides by 4. This little guy right here is a term, this 8 is a term, and then this 50 is a term. So I need to make sure I understand what I'm actually multiplying 4 by. Now, if you really thought ahead, I'm not going to do it this way because most of you aren't going to think like that, but if you thought ahead and you said, oh, 2 divided by 4 is 1/2, you could cancel that and make this a 2. I'm not going to do it, but for those of you who are kind of a step ahead and can kind of see that, that's okay to do. Then you would multiply everything by 2. I'm, however, not going to do that because I want to make sure that I do it the way most people would think about doing it. So to get rid of the fraction, I'm going to multiply this by 4. Then I'm going to multiply the 8 by 4, and I'm going to multiply the 50 by 4. So I've multiplied each thing by 4. The whole reason we do that is to eliminate the fractions. So then if you do it correctly, you should not have any fractions left. So before I actually multiply here, I'm going to say, oh, I could divide. Remember, multiplication and division have the same priority level, so it's okay to divide before you multiply on that one expression. So I did that to get rid of the 4. Now I'm going to multiply this by 4 and that by 4. So I'm going to write down what I have now. So the only thing that changed here was when I multiplied by 4, those went away. This is still there. 8 times 4 is 32. 50 times 4 is 200. Okay, so I've gotten rid of my fractions. So I look back at my list, and the next step says, if there's parentheses, eliminate them using the distributive property. So here I go. Oops, did I forget? That is not an equal sign, that's a minus sign. My apologies. Okay, so I'm going to distribute. Now notice the parenthesis starts here and ends here. So I don't take this 2 with 32. I just start right here and multiply these two things by 2, because that's what it says. It doesn't say to multiply that by 2, because this is what we need to multiply by 2. So 2 times r is 2r. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And then I have subtract 32 equals 200. All right, what's the next step? The next step says look on each side and combine any like terms on each side. So you look at both sides, but you do all the like terms on one side, all the like terms on the other side. Since there's only a 200 on this side, we don't need to do anything over there. But hopefully you notice that these are like terms. So I need to add those together or subtract. Negative 6 minus 32 is minus 38 equals 200. All right, what's the next step? The next step says to isolate the variable. That means get the variable alone on one side. Get all the variables, all the variables on one side. The variables are already on one side. There's no r's on the right side. Isolate the constants, so we want to get all the numbers that are not associated with a letter or variable. Remember, that's a constant, that's a coefficient. We want to get them on the other side. So I'm going to add 38 to both sides. And then I'm going to simplify. So 2r equals 238. And then my next step is to eliminate the coefficient. Remember, your coefficient is the number that's being multiplied. This 2 is a coefficient. So we're going to divide both sides by 2. R equals 119. So that is what we get there. And to check it, we could throw it back up in there. What's 119 minus 3? That's 116. Okay, 116. Then I have to times it by 2, divide it by 4, and subtract 8. And I get 50, and yes, that's what the other side was. So that's a nice way to check when you're done. Okay, on this one, there's no fractions, but there are parentheses, so I need to distribute. So I get 8n plus 16 equals 24. Now, for those of you that are a step ahead, yes, you could divide both sides by 8 and get n plus 2 equals 3. That's acceptable. If you're thinking that way, good, go for it. If not, just do the distributive way. This is just for people who really struggle with the steps and they need steps. Okay, so we got to get rid of we've got to get the variable on one side, but it is, and we got to get the constants on the other side. So I'm moving the 16 over by doing the opposite, because that gets me a 0. So I get 8n equals 8. And when I divide both sides by 8, I get n equals 1. Let's check, right? We could have done that before. 8 times what equals 24? 8 times 3, so n would have to be 1. Yes, n is 1, so that works. So I just wanted to give you a quick little how to use that chart, what to do. The side, it says your turn, so I'm hoping you'll do those. And good luck with that. M squared, signing out.